This is the Wrestling Collector Zone again. Welcome back. We have another review for you today. The review that we have is a documentary. This documentary is called The Trade, and it was produced in 2017. The Trade is a documentary that follows and talks to a pro wrestler by the name of Sick Nick Mondo. That he was a hardcore and deathmatch wrestler in CZW in the late 90s, early 2000s. He had made his way with CZW over to Big Japan to do some death matches over there as well. He was trained at Al Snow's pro wrestling school in Ohio, I believe it was. And once he had graduated from there, he made his way to wrestling in CZW. And it just kind of, this documentary follows from his footsteps when he was a teenager, later into when he was a teenager, and then when he decided to go into pro wrestling, that he was, let's say, headed down basically kind of a dark path when he was a teenager, as it was that he had always recorded all his footage, that everything that him and his friends did, and that they kind of did wrestling here and there. And at first it was little innocent stuff, and then it started becoming more hardcore stuff. But the only one that was taking the hardcore hits was him, and it started involving light tubes and I think thumbtacks, and then a strap or belt beating his back, stuff like that, and everything. And it's just overall, they had talked about the older he got, when he was a teenager, he was headed down a pretty heavy dark path. And then he had found Al Snow's wrestling school. As soon as he graduated, he went directly to Al Snow's wrestling school. He got trained, got into the business, and then ended up in CZW. And it just kind of talked about he talked about his time in CZW and the dark path that he kind of followed from there of, the death matches, and where it started down here and then started going up and up and up and up and got worse and worse and worse and worse with the risks that he would take and stuff like that. He was, and when he wrestled Wife Beater and that light tube death match, and he took the shot with a weed whacker directly to his abdomen. And then when CZW was doing their tournament of death, their tournaments, that he started every year, he kind of he didn't say that he was trying to top himself, but you can see if you look at the footage, every year he did try to top himself more and more. And it was just things that he was headed down a real dark path, and he put his body at real risk within the wrestling, industry. That's one of the sad things, is that I myself enjoy a little bit of deathmatch wrestling here and there. I used to when I was a lot younger, got into it more until I realized kind of more what was going on, that it's just not entertainment. You've got to also remember the factor of what these wrestlers are really putting their bodies through, even though wrestling, is decided upon obviously on the matches, who's gonna win and who's gonna, you're gonna do this, do that, and do the moves and try to protect each other. You got to also realize that with these death matches, they're using weapons that are real. These light tubes, these thumbtacks, these cut open pop cans, these barbed wire bats, all this barbed wire, the rat traps, the mouse traps, all of this is real stuff, the glass, that they are putting their bodies at risk. So nowadays, I do not really hardly at all watch deathmatch wrestling, or if I do, I'll watch like a mild version of it, because CZW had taken it so far, and some of the other independent companies have taken it so far out there nowadays, that like when Nick Mondo was even there, and in the Tournament of Deathmatch, one of the most memorable matches for me with Nick Mondo was that I had ordered Tournament of Death. I want to say it might have been 4 or 5, or I can't remember, but this was when there was still VHSs. There wasn't even DVDs yet, or DVDs were just starting to come out or something like that. But I remember that I had ordered the VHS from Smart Mark Video, and I sat there and I watched this match, and it was Nick Mondo versus Zandig. And Zandig was, at the time, one of the owners of CZW, and he'd wrestle and stuff like that. He was a hardcore deathmatch wrestler too. He had been over to Japan and Big Japan and all that too. And right in the mix with all of them. And it was, if I can remember right what the match was called, I can't remember 100% at this point. But I think it was the light two log cabin death match. It was 2 out of 3 falls, or 2 out of 3 falls. Light 2 cabin death match, and basically what it was these light tubes were put together and stacked back and forth, and all put together as like a light tube log cabin. And there was numerous ones, because in case other ones broke and and they weren't put through them or something like that or whatever. But essentially the 2 out of 3 falls was, each fall was, once you put a wrestler through one, that was 1 fall, and you had to win 2 out of 3 falls. And watching this match progress from Zandig and Nick Mondo coming out, and then they had, started wrestling, and it started in the ring, and, it went from there. And if I remember right, they also went to the top of one of the trucks in this match. They went to the top of the building, and there was numerous tables stacked up, and then there was light tube log cabins within these tables stacked up and on top of it. And Zandig's finisher was called the mother effing bomb, which essentially what it was you held the guy up, you came down and slammed him. Okay, well, what ended up happening was that Zandig did the mother effing bomb off the top of the building through these light tube log cabins and down to the ground, and they hit pure cement. And it was one of the scariest things I had ever seen in wrestling. One of the most realistic things I had ever seen in wrestling, and realized right then that that's what made me realize, seeing that this is more real than what you realize. It's not just entertainment. These guys are putting their lives at risk. And to be in this state of mind, and Nick Mondo had touched on this part, in the documentary, but to be in a state of mind to be able to do that, and it took them like minutes and minutes before they even started moving and was able to even get up off the ground. It was unreal. And I just overall, Nick Mondo touches about this in the documentary. He touches about some of the other stuff that happened throughout his career, until he realized to the point that he said he had to walk away because basically otherwise the next step was basically death. And he just had to walk away, and he had left, and at one point he was doing film directing, and he talks about like being in Japan because he went and lived in Japan for a while and stuff like that. And overall, it's just a real good documentary. It's a dark documentary because it touches on the factors of deathmatch, and it really it shows clips of happening in deathmatch and stuff like that. But overall, it's just a great documentary that touches on a career like Nick Mondo that deserves to be, I say his career deserves to be celebrated, but at the same time needs to be put out there and have an understanding of how dark it is and how real it really is, because a lot of people still treat deathmatch wrestling and CZW as pure entertainment when it's not that. It's to an extent they're trying to entertain you, but the factor is that these men's lives are at risk, and that's where I feel that it needs to start becoming toned down and realize more that not to do as many dangerous things as what they're doing in the ring in deathmatch wrestling, because it is to an extent going to cause death. But overall, this documentary was real great. The whole time the documentary had sat down talking to Nick Mondo, and they had talked about his return to CZW for one reason, when he did return for a one night only ordeal and stuff like that. But just overall, I feel this documentary was a really good documentary showcasing the career of Nick Mondo himself. And out of the Lariat scale that we have talked about, I am going to give this documentary a 3 out of 5 Lariats. It was a real good documentary. It was a bit of a longer one. I think it was closer to 2 hours, but overall it was a really good documentary, and just showcasing Nick Mondo's career and celebrating his career at the same time, which I think Nick Mondo needed something like that. And because there was only one other documentary that was done by him, which was done about Nick Mondo way back in the day, way before there was even like widescreen ordeal and stuff on DVDs, and it was called, I think, Unscarred, the Nick Mondo story or something like that. So I feel this did a better factor of celebrating his career and talking about his career. And overall, it's just a great watch. You can watch it on Amazon Prime, where I watched it, which I must have got lucky and caught it one of the last days that it was being free to be watched, because now you have to either rent it, which I think you can rent it starting at $3 or $4.99 on up, $10 to $15 digitally. Otherwise, you can find the Blu-ray online to order. I know I've looked at ordering it, and I know you can order it for under $20, as well as it's on like Google Play Store, other options like that as well. Again, the name is The Trade. It was produced in 2017. And you guys have a great day. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you get those notifications whenever we post a video that goes live on YouTube. And post below, just letting us know, have you seen this documentary? Do you know who Nick Mondo is? What was his favorite matches of yours? Are there other documentaries that you're wanting to see reviews on, or that you've seen lately that we should be looking at, and everything like that? But again, thanks for joining us today, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, like I said, and the notification bell. You guys have a great day. Stay safe out there, during this pandemic time. You know, watch some good wrestling, and just post below and let us know what's going on with your guys' life. It'll be great to hear. Stay safe and have a great day.